Well, good evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are at. We have Chiefs fans or fans of this channel, our backers all over the world. And we are, well, we're excited to have you guys as backers. We're not so excited to do this reaction video, but Gooch will jump back in here a second. We lost him, but he'll be back. And so we're going to talk about a reaction to the Chiefs losing another 3 point game to the Super Bowl losing Cincinnati Bengals. And we'll chat with you guys here a little bit, and then we'll call it a night. Aaron?
Yep, I'm with you. This was a disappointing loss. I don't know where Spags was on adjustments. I don't know where Mahomes' typical pocket awareness was, because there were several plays I saw that he could have just run forward for the first down. That's
Yeah,
kind of
I
crazy,
saw the same
Steve.
thing.
I've got the same cup I'm drinking out of.
Yeah, that was a nice Walmart pack of cups. But yeah,
Or are we in the same house?
weirder things have happened. I actually agreed with Dan Harms on the RGR reaction a lot tonight. And as I said in the chat there, either I'm getting smarter or Dan's getting dumber or both, or I I don't know. All I know is that this game, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. All of you guys in the chat, all of you guys who watch this on replay, and by the way, because we always forget, because this is not why we do this, but make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell notifications. When we go live and when we produce content. But you guys are literally the only reason I kept watching this game. I was so pissed I was going to turn it off, but I had to do a reaction video, which meant that I had to watch the whole thing. So just know that I watched the whole game for you guys. This game was utterly frustrating. I told Aaron I could do about a 30-minute rant just on the coaches.
Yeah.
I thought the first quarter, the refs were bad enough that I wanted to shut it off. Like, you can tell how the game's going to go within that first quarter. And I thought they got better as the game went on. I thought they got a lot better for the most part as the game went on. But it's still frustrating to watch NFL games and see the ref setting the tone for the game. Like, that whole first quarter sets the tone for how the game is going to go, right? The refs were, in some part, a difference between the Bengals having 14 points in that first quarter and it being a tie game or the Chiefs having a lead. Like, they were literally gifted a touchdown and it was ridiculous. The roughing the passer was ridiculous. The DPI was ridiculous. And these are two calls that Hussey's ref crew almost never even calls. And we're talking about the third least penalized team. And you see these show up in key moments to extend a drive that should have ended at the best with the field goal. And I'm not here to blame the refs, but this is how the game started and it set a tone. And to me, setting a tone in the first quarter like that is huge. And we saw it, 2 weeks ago, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Similar things happened where you get a lead in a game and you can play a lot differently. Like this Chiefs offense, not too dissimilarly to the Bengals offense. You get up and it really changes what the other team can do. So I've been talking for about 3 minutes now and I'm going to stop because I literally could go on a 30-minute rant. So,
Right.
oh, and I see Gooch is with us here as well. So,
Right on. Hey, or Morgan. It's good to see you. It's been a little while. Hefe, welcome. Looks like Holly made it and Daryl made it. Glad you're joining us after that.
Yeah, Holly, I'm not saying the refs changed the outcome of the game. I'm saying they set a tone early that sent the game on a different trajectory. You know, it's like if you all ever watched the movie The Butterfly Effect, you know, there's still multiple paths to a Chiefs win in this game. I think this just sent it down a different trajectory that made it a little bit closer of a game eventually.
There were definitely some bad no calls, but we did not show up. Right. I don't know where the hell we were. I don't know where Spags was with his adjustments because I didn't see any.
Yeah, I wasn't here last night. I had some family stuff to deal with, but one of the things I would have said, you have to jam. I swear I say this every freaking week. You have to jam the receivers. You have to do the same thing to them that they do to Travis every freaking week.
Screw up their timing.
You know Joe Burrow gets the ball out fast. You got to give your defense a chance. I thought the cornerbacks did a really good job in this game guarding their guys. Like, if Jamar Chase jumps up and gets something over McDuffie, you know, kudos to Burrow and Chase. But when I saw him on Chase, most of the time I saw him on him, he was right in his back pocket. I thought he played great coverage. For the most part, I thought the cornerbacks played great coverage. I think the biggest weakness, and it's not fair because it's basically every DB in the NFL, is, you know, when they had to move laterally, slants, you know, crossers, whatever. That's hard for any defensive back. Show me a defensive back who's absolutely amazing at it. Jalen Ramsey got burnt by Kelsey on one. Jalen Ramsey. Travis isn't faster than Jalen Ramsey. When you're moving laterally, it is hard. That's what guys in zone are for. So, you know, I thought when it was in situations where it was vertical, I thought our CBs were great. So, you know, I don't want to take away from them in that. The pass rush was embarrassing, mainly because we know how bad that offensive line is.
Exactly.
Like, you have 13 weeks to study that offensive line to figure out who their weaknesses are, where their weaknesses are. You have all kinds of wisdom to manipulate their offensive line. Plenty of things you can do to make their offensive guards, who are offensive guards for a reason, have to play like offensive tackles. But I think the biggest thing that pissed me off, at the end of the game, you know they're running the ball on first down, and we give up 6 yards in a crucial moment when you know they're running. And nothing pissed me off, I think, more than that defensively than that. Last 2 minutes of the game, you know they're running, and you can't stop them.
I've got a couple plays that really bothered me. Bolton had the running back like 3 yards short of the first down. There's 3 guys closing in, and they all fucking whiff on him. How do all 3 of you miss that bad, and he still gets the first down?
I think I know the player. Was it in the red zone, like close to the goal line, I think? Or was it a different play? I think it was when Bolton had him like hit the ankles, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's where Ryan was talking about. Bolton should be tackling higher, and whoever it was, Juan or somebody, should be tackling lower. But, yeah, what irritated me was you didn't have guys jumping forward, you know, like trying to slam into P. Ryan or whoever it was on any given play. You had them jumping on top of them. Like, make a collision happen so that they're not getting another yard or two. You don't jump on top of them like you want to plop on them to hurt them. You jump towards them to stop their forward momentum. I don't know. Like, I said it in the RGR Discord, and you guys can tell me what you think. Because, listen, I just want to preface this. I absolutely like Spags as a person. I think he does some things great as a defensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, I see a team who his whole time here has been bad at tackling and doesn't have enough attitude. Like when you look at a Tennessee Titans team on defense who's out there to punish you, this defense looks much, much more softer in comparison. And I'm sorry, but I think the only way you change that is by a heart transplant, which means replacing your defensive coordinator, getting someone with more attitude. I'm not going to say Rex
Killer
Ryan,
instinct.
but just somebody who's going to rub off on the players so they're more enforcers. Like, we were getting drug every level. We were getting drug 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. Like, everybody on that offense, except for Hayden Hurst, who actually, Justin Reed was right. He is soft. Hayden Hurst is soft. Outside of him, everybody else on that offense, even Burrow, would make contact with RD, and RD would go backwards, and that's pathetic. Thank you, Holly.
There was another play that I believe it was the last first down they got, that we had two guys converging right there, and somehow he still gets to the first down. I have no idea what happened to those two guys. How they just disappeared.
You talking about the final slant
Yes.
or whatever it was to Higgins?
Yeah, Higgins broke outside somehow.
And Williams was on. I thought Williams was actually on him fairly well for that kind of route. Again, it's so hard when you have to move laterally and stuff like that, as compared to vertically, where it's just straight line speed. You don't have to worry about reacting, right? The receiver knows where he's running, the DB doesn't. So that's why it's harder to play. But as I recall, Williams was right there. It's just, we don't know how to stop a receiver from catching the ball, or we don't know how to knock it out, which goes to another thing that ticks me off. Like,
oh, I am thinking of a different play.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that was the last one of the game. The
you're right.
First down there, but I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but
it's where he broke outside, and it might have been Chase.
Oh, the Chase one. Yeah,
we had two guys.
The one where we let him get the first down.
Yeah.
That was. I think that one was one that was similar to what I was saying, right? Like, dive at him to stop him from forward, having forward momentum. I don't know. Go ahead.
Hey, Frankie, I do disagree with something Dan said about Thornhill trying to dodge P. Ryan and other people. No, he kept trying to dive at the ball, and he was hitting the ball. He might have tapped their hand, but I don't think he was purposely missing. He was definitely throwing his body around.
Yeah, I just don't think he's. I don't think he's strong enough. He's not. He's a finesse.
Not wrap up. I agree.
He's a Hayden Hurst of safeties. He's a finesse safety. That's not his game, and we need more enforcers on this defense. And I thought we were going to have those this year, but I don't know. We've started to see some games that where we look frustratingly soft, and so I don't know. I actually took notes for this game, so I could try to be positive a little bit, as well as
there negative. Are Definitely positives to this game.
I do want to say, Holly, in addition to your comment that was up there. In addition, it's also one of those, like when you say with all due respect, right? Something bad is following when you start out with all due respect. So, but yeah, I'm gonna throw this up here from Frankie. McDuffie versus Chase, 3 targets, 1 catch allowed, 8 yards, 42.4 passer rating allowed. Yeah. And I'd like to know how much McDuffie was actually on Chase. But, it seemed like their game plan was more to go to Higgins than Chase, which, I thought was a positive. It's hard because you look at a game like this, and we've talked about it before, in that you always wonder how much, when we're playing a team that you expect to be a playoff contender, how much we're holding back. And that's always going to be in the back of, your mind. But at the same time, like for me, I also want to caution myself so that we don't use that as an excuse, right? Because we've seen some absolute duds from this coaching staff before. I don't have blind trust in Andy and Spags. And I've talked about that before, and Super Bowl 55 is why. I've seen some bad games that were badly game planned, badly coached, to the point that I can't blindly trust them. It doesn't mean that, that I'm completely down on them. But
was Tyreek the difference in this, though? Because we blew him away in the first half, both the last games last year. And we were down, 14-3? Fairly quickly. And that's when I said, well, we're going to win this game now. It's double digits.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, we had that first drive, I want to say, took like 7 minutes. And I want to say they said that we had 3 possessions in the first half. Having to go for 3 was ridiculous there. The refs extended the one drive that the Bengals had. And at the end of the day, we had 2 games with Tyreek, and we had 1 game without Tyreek, and we lost all 3 by 3 points. So in this game, we shouldn't have lost. Travis's fumble probably, at the very least, took 3 points off the board, if not 7, the way that drive was going.
And the wind out of our sails.
We had...
Hold the damn ball with 2 hands.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
He had 3 guys tackling him.
No.
And where was our offense? They were all standing around watching him run. Nobody came to help.
They showed that replay 15 times. He had it tucked in his right arm, and he was trying to push guys off to keep running. He may have had 2 hands on it in the beginning, but at the end, he did not. He had his elbow up, trying to push people off and hold that ball with 1 arm. Which is why after that, every time he caught it and tacklers got around him, he dropped to the ground. He didn't get tackled. He let himself go limp and fall to the ground. He knew.
I'd have to
you could see it in his face that the ball was definitely out.
And I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but the ones that I did, the plays that I did watch, Pat's checkdowns were wide open, and he's staring down the field. There are some plays where you don't need 10 to 15 if it's 3rd and 3.
He could have picked up,
or Pacheco are in the flat.
He also could have picked up first downs running for him.
It's almost like he plays Cincinnati and He's got the deer in the headlights.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that earlier.
And because I'm not just going to beat up on a rookie defense, even though the defensive coordinator loses his mind going against Zach Taylor also, we could have had a first down, which could have extended the drive. And I actually had to call Aaron. I'm in the car driving. I had to call Aaron and be like, I'm sorry. A 3-man rush, 5 offensive linemen, and 2 people run past Orlando. He don't get a hand on
Either.
none of them? It's 3 men to 5. How does that happen?
There should be 2 double teams.
Hey, good thing we're not paying him $25 million a year.
No
I
shit.
admitted I was wrong about that. You gonna keep digging that in?
Oh no, that wasn't a shot at you. I'm just saying, like, how much worse would it be? How much worse would watching him this season be if we all knew we had him for 6 more years? It would be like being a Broncos fan with Russ, right?
I'd be fucking irate.
How frustrating it would be if he had accepted the contract. All I was saying.
I'd be fucking irate.
Oh, I'm sure he knows he's playing himself out of tens of millions.
This was just me, I guess, trying to find, some positivity there. At least we don't have him for 6 years at $25 million a year, or 22, whatever it was. But yeah, I did have some positives for this game, and I already talked about the cornerbacks. Special teams wasn't bad outside of the missed field goal.
Which is a 55-yarder. Everybody's losing their minds off of him missing. It's a 55-yarder.
Well,
I'm gonna anger Holly, and I don't mean to, Holly. But the snap to Tommy and then the placement was effed up on that 55-yarder. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Winchester. That was all. Go ahead.
If you watched it, Tommy had to spin the ball right before Butker's foot hit it. And that's why he pushed it. Because Tommy was trying to spin it, and then he leaned it a little bit right as Butker was kicking it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Well, I mean, it's physics. If the ball's going one way as he's making contact, even though, it hasn't come completely to rest, so you have some opposite force stuff going on there that makes it less accurate. But yeah, that one was on Winchester. I guess if you want to throw some of the blame to Tommy.
Well, and I'm actually not trying to place blame. Everything I saw on the Twitter when I had stopped was bashing Butker, but nobody went back and watched it. And Tommy had to catch it, plan it. It was a bad snap, and spin it as Butker's going through his motion. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, you can't place the blame on Tommy for real. He was trying to make a bad situation better. But the second that Tommy grabbed it, you knew. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean,
then you really can't rag on Butker.
When you're the long snapper, nobody knows your name, even though I know who you are, James Winchester, and it was before this game. But generally, or people know you from Madden because you're the tight end or whatever that, is like $1 million and a 43 overall that I always cut. But, that's kind of the thing. You have 2 jobs as the long snapper: field goals and punts. 2 jobs. Like, this goes back to something I've talked about this whole season about special teams, offense and defense. Like, I really question what our practice is, like what we're doing. Like, are they focused enough? Do we take the fundamentals and the so-called automatic for granted on this team? Because it seems like it. I don't want to dig on Travis, but he has, it seems, at least one boneheaded play every game. To me, that's a focus issue. Special teams. There's always something. It seems like we do not practice the fundamentals the way we should. Like, it should be as automatic as possible. Now, to be fair, we're talking about, how many snaps does Winchester have that are bad? You know.
I don't know, not many typically, but going back to the focus is every game. It seems we have ineligible man downfield every game.
Well, I mean, that's because of the RPOs. So
is that so? It's you don't think that's focus?
No, I mean it's just
and discipline.
I think you almost have to count that against Pat. On the RPO,
Holding the ball too long.
On the ones it's RPOs, yeah. On an RPO, you got to get it out quicker. That one play, that wasn't an RPO. That was just the play took so long, and Pat was kind of scrambling, and the offensive line was just. I think they just lost the awareness of where they were at in the moment of everything.
Mitch Schwartz said something about that, and he was like, offensive linemen have an internal clock. And so they know the block for so long, like they have it memorized, and then it's moved downfield. If Pat's running around for 10 seconds, the linemen aren't turning around. They're completing their assignment, thinking the ball is already out. Problem is it's not yet, and they start moving downfield. That's where they're getting caught at.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to point out for those ragging on Butker, there are 32 kickers in the NFL. 16 of them can't kick 55 yards. I assure you of that.
Easily.
Now, to be fair, Matt Wright was signed off the street, and I'm pretty sure he's kicked a 55-yarder this season.
Butker's 60-62, right after it. All right, keep talking, boys. I'm going to find another place to talk in a minute.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure Gooch noticed that I was watching the game with a couple of the neighbors across the way. Very passionate. One of them is getting ready to have her kidney taken out, Val. So please, everybody, thoughts with her. But she was the one he heard yelling in the background, screaming, "Kill him!" As bad as she's hurting, she's still screaming. Gotta love it.
Yeah, well,
and it's more the women screaming than the guys.
Well, I might have been screaming "kill him" every time Burrow took off running. So, but
she definitely was too.
And that reminded me
getting away. I don't get it. Their offensive line is not that good. How are we not getting home but once?
Right. Here's the thing, and I don't want to.
There was a lot of holding.
I don't want to trash Spags, but at the very least, mimic the Bengals defense and play Burrow the same way. But I'll say this, and I don't want to take anything away from their coaching staff. I don't want to take anything. I had to look it up. Lou Anarumo, I don't know how you say his name. Their defensive coordinator. The man is a career defensive back coach. Like, he spent most of his time coaching defensive backs in college at Purdue. Like, that's how he spent most of his time leading up to his time with the Bengals. And you're going up against Andy Reid. Andy has been in the NFL for what, 30 years? Or he's been coaching head coach for almost 30 years. 3 times you've lost to this guy's defense. 3 times in a row. Like 24 points in this game. It's frustrating. I said I could rant for 30 minutes, so I'm trying to hold restraint. But there's something here when a career defensive back coach has game planned and stopped your offense 3 times in a row, and you have no answer.
And I definitely can't blame the refs.
I'm gonna side with Andy on this one, and I'm gonna say, from what I listened to, Patrick opened his mouth too much, and they made it look like single coverage on Kelsey, and he threw the ball there a lot. At least in the second half.
I
just
figure that's already known, though. He constantly tries to go.
Okay, so if it's known, do something different. What is the definition of insanity, especially against the Bengals?
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. You know, since we're talking about play calling, can we talk about the goal line situation? What was it? Second down. Like, who let the 12-year-old with his Madden playbook call a wildcat with Jet back there? Like,
Of all people.
Well, here's my biggest problem with it.
If you do, he needs
He's
to throw the
only person
ball.
back there.
He needs to
He's
throw the
the only
ball.
person in the backfield. You know he's not throwing the ball. Like, we told their defense, guess what? You're stopping Jet McKinnon on a run on this play. He was in the backfield by himself. Like, it was such a stupid, wasted down.
He was a quarterback in college, too. He has a hell of an arm. Throw the ball. Yeah, don't have him back there by himself.
And don't have Mahomes on the field on that play. Put somebody else in there, because
Gray as an H.
I'm not trusting McKinnon throwing a pass in such a condensed situation when elite NFL quarterbacks struggle in that situation to throw with 2 yards or whatever it was, 3 yards, whatever it was. He's the only person back there. You can't hand the ball off to anyone else. You have Mahomes all the way over wide. So it's way too easy on a defense, and we shouldn't be making things easier. I don't care if you're trying to set it up for something later on in the season where he takes it and he throws it to Mahomes and Mahomes throws it to somebody else.
The thought I just had was, they would have needed to run towards Mahomes' side, have him run back and pitch it over as he's getting tackled type deal. That's the only way that play works. And then Mahomes throw it to somebody.
Sure, maybe you have someone run over towards Mahomes, you throw it to Mahomes, and he shovel passes it to somebody. But show that on tape in a game where it's a different situation against a different team.
And maybe they're setting it up for something like that.
That's what I'm saying, though. Do it in a different game, in a different situation. That was just to me, that was one of the worst play calls in the game. I don't know.
When did McKinnon become the short yardage back? I don't get that either.
Oh, outside of that, the running backs had, I thought, pretty good games. Pacheco did have a lot of 3-yard runs, but McKinnon looked like he had more burst. Maybe that was more, the difference between veteran, decisiveness, reading the holes versus, Pacheco's rookie, kind of slower.
His vision isn't always there on point.
Yeah. But, the running game was there. The running game was there for Mahomes, but like you said, he wasn't running when he could have. And I think that was part of the problem in this game. And to me, they did get away from the run at times as well. They still haven't played the Bengals the way they should have for a full game. Mahomes should have been taking off running more. There were times when he was holding the ball and he had plenty of green and he didn't take it. So
Burrow was a lot. They had designed runs even.
And we weren't playing them the same way. As Frankie said there, rush 3 and drop 8. Well, part of that is, one of those 8 is a spy. We've talked about this before, the whole mirror spy concept.
And they actually did it right with Gay a couple times.
And then did we get away from it? What happened?
There were no in-game adjustments, it seemed like.
And I didn't feel like the halftime adjustments were good enough.
You do zone match. Quit the zone crap.
And
unless you're going to do match.
Maybe it was just that the Bengals made good anticipatory adjustments at halftime. I don't know. But our adjustments didn't seem like enough on either side of the ball. But
right.
MVS, both good and bad. He still had, one heck of a catch, but he also had the end zone drop. He had another deep drop. Kind of frustrating, there.
They kept trying the long ball, and he caught 1 out of 4.
Yeah, 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. You know who would be great to have instead of MVS? I'm not going to say it. I will say it. Receiver that I actually wanted the Chiefs to draft, who I think scored me something like 36 points in fantasy today. Christian Watson. Christian Watson. I would love to have Christian Watson. Nothing against Sky Moore, but imagine Christian Watson on this offense instead of – I wasn't touching anything. Imagine Christian Watson on this offense instead of – well, I don't want to say instead of Sky Moore, instead of MVS. Anyway, I'm not
going to make people dizzy here.
I'm going to stop, but the other positive I had for this game, not that, you can't think of other ones, but the other positive I had for this game was when Zach Taylor arrogantly went for it on 4th and 1 right there at the end of the first half, with like 2 minutes or so left, whatever it was, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it was, when he went for it instead of kicking the field goal, the D actually stopped him.
Dunlap
2 plays in a row.
Blew it wide open.
Because you had them trying to get him to jump off sides, knowing that the Chiefs defense was playing aggressively. They didn't do it. So kudos to them for that. And then you have the very next play, them getting wrecked. So kudos to the D for that. Because that would have been at least another 3. That would have been at least what? Yeah, at least an easy 3.
Yeah.
If not another 7. Because you're in the red zone already. So, it could have been 7 points.
Dunlap is starting to come up clutch like once a game. He is making a big play.
Yeah, we just don't have we just can't put him in enough. Is the big problem. But and Gooch, by the way, you're muted, so when you're going to jump in, make sure you unmute yourself. But I'm really hoping that Brandon Williams will actually be a huge addition to this defensive line.
Where's Shelton?
That's my run defense dream. I don't know what Shelton's problem is that at 350 pounds, he can't get out there. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw that Williams was listed at too, right? When you know they're going to run.
33, yeah.
When you know they're going to run like that, like what I was talking about, that last drive there, put Williams and Shelton in at your tackle spots.
Have you seen the arms on that freaking guy?
And then put
Brandon
Jones
Williams.
and Dunlap out there. Those 4. Yeah, he is jacked. Like I don't know if his body will hold up, but he should be rested. Sounds like he has
Nobody's
some new perspective.
Nobody's pushing that guy off the ball.
I would hope not. But
biceps
to me,
crazy.
if you take Williams and you put him and Shelton next to each other, it should take at least 3 or 4 offensive linemen to block them.
Jones on an edge, and who on the other edge?
Dunlap, to me.
Yeah.
Those 4 guys. But, I don't know. That was one of the other disappointing things is like, do we give Joe Cullen, credit when we have good defensive line adjustments and bad defensive line adjustments? Like, I felt like no matter what they did, they weren't able to attack the weaknesses in this Bengals offensive line. Like they had no answer for manipulating that offensive line to get the matchup they wanted or to execute, and I think sometimes it's fair to talk about we should have been jamming them. Other times it didn't matter because the Bengals had like 6 or 7 seconds and we weren't able to beat guys one-on-one. So I don't know.
Bill, glad you made it. Tua hurt his ankle?
Oh yeah. I know
didn't know that.
I know Lamar got hurt.
Yeah, he's done for the season, isn't he?
Somebody is. Garoppolo.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's the Brock Purdy show in San Fran now.
So 3 quarterbacks went down today.
So
or
I don't think
Tua come back in.
I don't know.
No clue on
yeah,
that.
I hate that those games were on at the same time.
He came back in because Bosa strip sacked him for the game to end the game.
Gosh, that's a reason to keep him out is Bosa.
Well, Scott asked if Cullen is making any difference with this defensive line, and yeah, I would say for the most part. I mean, I've given him. I could be wrong, but I've given him credit for the defensive line adjustments at halftime and in most games. We already have more sacks as a defense this year than we had last year.
And there's several games left.
And so, yeah.
And really, I think we went out just to back Frankie up some more on this. Did we click on something at the same time? That there's nothing to freak out about. We're still 9-3, and we've got the easiest schedule out of anybody in the race.
Yeah.
And yeah, Miami's starting to get banged up, and we were missing 3 key guys today with Hardman, Tony, and Tooney. To me,
right.
I still like Hardman, and I think he's really turned it up this year. Of course, he's contract year, but
and for everybody worried about the Bills also have to play Cincinnati.
And Josh Allen's hurt, playing hurt.
Yeah, those 2 teams, the Bills and the Bengals, do not have an easy road forward. So I mean, that is what it is.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point, Aaron, and that's something I had in my notes.
Providence made it in too.
At the end of the day, we didn't have what I'm going to say is 2 starters on this offense because I'm going to consider Hardman kind of a quasi-starter there. So we didn't have Tooney, we didn't have Hardman. And even though I still think your game plan for Tony, not Tooney, Tony is to use him a handful of plays, when you kind of need a boost.
He's electric.
Each game, I think that's the difference between him and Hill. You cannot add him into the game plan, each week in anything more than a kind of a sprinkled in way. I just don't think you can count on him playing enough. Uh, you know, I think the moment you start incorporating him too much into the offense until he shows he can stay healthy, you're hurting your offense. So, but still, if we'd been able to have him 6 to 12 plays in this game, I think that makes a big difference. I think it makes a difference in the red zone. Same thing with Hardman. I think having Hardman in the red zone makes a difference. I think having Hardman, on some of those routes where we were throwing it to MVS, maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. His hands aren't much better.
A jet sweep to either of them could
Right.
be the difference in the score right there.
So, if you want to take that as a positive, trying to be optimistic here, the offense isn't there. Now, you're not guaranteed to have a healthy offense in the playoffs either. You're not guaranteed to have either of those players in the offense.
Very true.
And, talking about Tony, though, I thought Allegretti played fairly well. If Brown is the issue, Brown is the issue. Last year when we played we had Tooney at left tackle, and he seemed to do pretty good against Hendrickson. So for what that's worth. But I mean, at this point, the offensive tackles are who they are. And as Gooch said, the definition of insanity. So if you are game planning as the offensive coordinator or the head coach, and your offensive tackles are who they are, and you're not helping them, what does that say? Gooch, I know you got something to say to this. Is anybody to blame for not helping Orlando and Wiley when you know who they are and you know what their weaknesses are?
Throw Niang out there for more than a play.
Niang got some playing time?
One play.
That's it? Was he hurt?
Nope.
The problem is they ran into a little bit of fool's gold. And I say that because for the past 2 games, Orlando hasn't looked bad. But you know who he is. It's like Jenny Green said, he is who you think he is. You know what I'm saying? Put somebody out there. Chip, help. Like, I'm still stuck on the fact that they rushed 3 guys, and 2 of them got home against 5 guys. 2 of them on Patrick's left. There should have been 4 guys over there. I don't know.
I mean, I think you're stuck in a point where your only real option is to have a quick opening route, whether that is a slant or like a shallow, cross, like a drag, whatever you want to call it. Because the problem is, in my opinion, the problem is you can't use extra guys to help them because it's already hard enough for someone to get open. When you start holding guys back to help block, again, 5-on-3, there's 8 guys in coverage. So if you hold anybody back, that's less guys to try to get open against 8 guys. So the only alternative answer you have is something quick where they're not. Like, to me, that's it. Something quick where they're not.
You don't even have to do that. 5
Or
on
Pat
3.
scrambling.
5-on-3, Mahomes should have just been running.
It's got to be one of those 2 things, in my opinion. Like, I mean, they did have, what was it, Travis's first catch of the game, which came in the 3rd quarter, where he had like that chip Like he started a block, he chipped or whatever, and then he had the catch. Right? I mean, you could do stuff like that. I don't think you want to do that much in a game. But yeah. I mean, it's got to be one or the other.
I gotta agree with Doug on this, that we were looking very sluggish, especially after that fumble.
Yeah, I mean, did we come out way less fired up than I thought we would for this game? Absolutely. Like, I was astonished at how we were not able to come into this game fired up, like, in my opinion. Offense, defense,
agree.
we didn't have the attitude. And again, I come back to how much of this is a reflection of coaching, though. Like, who our coaches are.
And it obviously turned out to be a bad thing. Reed trying to talk shit on the internet or during interviews.
Yeah, and nobody showed. Well, basically nobody showed up to bail him out on that one on the field. You know, I don't know about you guys, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way when we did get that stop of the Bengals on that 4th and 1. Like, that gave us some momentum, and we were just happy to run the clock out and go to halftime, knowing that we were getting the ball back in the second half, knowing we can score in 12 or 13 seconds. Like,
yeah, I didn't like that.
To me, you were saying you had absolutely no faith in your offense, which I'll say this. There's a lot of people who think we can beat anybody and that we're not out of games because of who our quarterback is. If that's the case, why are we running the ball twice and letting 50, 55 seconds, whatever it was, run out and go into halftime behind, getting the ball back when we could have been up, getting the ball back and increasing that lead? Like, we didn't even try.
Mahomes wants to.
We didn't even try. Like,
nope.
If you're afraid, throw a wide receiver screen there. Okay? You get 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7. So what? Don't let 30 seconds run off the clock. Get out there. Like, who are you on offense? Like, to me, we had momentum, and instead, what we said was our attitude is we are a team who plays soft. We are a team who plays scared. That's a reflection on coaching once again. You had the D stop them on 4th and 1 when they could have scored at least 3 to 7 points, and your decision with whatever time was left, 45 seconds, a minute, whatever, was let's just run it a couple times because we don't know what's going to happen, and we're going to go in at halftime.
49 seconds.
49 seconds. We've scored 3 points against Buffalo twice now in 13 seconds, 12 to 13 seconds.
And they're very highly ranked defense.
And we got nothing. We have 2 runs, and it's not even the runs. It's that and Gooch just went to the toilet now because I said the runs. But I just hated that lack of aggressiveness there. Like, what are you saying about your offense? What are you saying about Mahomes? Fans want to say, well, I don't think we're out of many games because we have Mahomes. Go ahead, Gooch.
It's really odd considering we normally push it in that last minute. It's almost like, it's not almost like it is. Like they were so worried about committing the same mistakes as last year that they did the complete opposite. Yeah, you lost by the same score.
Right. So here's the thing. I know, I know you guys aren't parents. I don't know how many people in the chat are parents, but I have enough of them to know that kids pick up your attitude. They pick up your emotions. You know, like I don't know how many times I've had a kid fall, right? And if my reaction is fear and whatever, that kid is crying. If my reaction, you know, is, oh man, you know, that was a big fall. You know, you okay? And they get up and they're smiling and they're okay. Like my reaction to them, you know, how we react to whatever happens, how we're feeling. Like when we're stressed, I swear my kids. And Aaron, you have dogs and cats, so you know, like your dog, they know, right? When you're feeling stressed, they'll come up to you. They can just sense it.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how it's not the same thing for a football team. So to me, this is a lot of coaching.
So in other words, with Aaron's dogs because of Liz.
They're highly empathetic.
It's not a good strain if I don't get a. It's not a good strain if I don't.
Now that you saw her jump in.
Oh man. Hey Liz, good night and good night. Oh, I don't know. I could be wrong, but it just seems to me that there's too much that's conveyed by the coaching staff that the players pick up on. So,
And yeah, Williams seems to look pretty small to me, and I don't see why you don't have Watson in there. He's much bigger. I thought he's done a lot better than Williams.
man, I swear Williams seems like, for the most part, he is a good tackler, and
I'll give you that.
I think he has a little to learn, you know, but I think he'll get there. There's some small things and I think it Williams or McDuffie. Somebody had a really nice defensive pass interference. I think maybe even in the end zone that didn't get called. And I can't remember which one of the two it was, but he had his arm hooked in there so nicely as they ran 5, 6, 7, 8 yards or whatever, you know, to where the ref couldn't see it. But anyway, yeah. You know, I have one more negative that I'm going to mention. We could come up with negatives all day probably, but one more I'm going to mention. And I don't know about you guys, and maybe it was just the broadcast. But after Travis's fumble, I swear the broadcast showed him like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times sitting there by himself for the last 8-10 minutes of the game when he wasn't on the field. Dejected, by himself, mumbling to himself. I didn't see one freaking Chiefs player sitting next to him. I didn't see anybody talking him up, anybody joking with him, anybody getting him in the right headspace. And that pissed me off. And I don't understand it because we've seen it before with Mahomes and Sky Moore or Mahomes and, you know, other players. But in this game, and maybe it was just the way CBS, maybe they had it zoomed in so you couldn't see other people talking to him. Maybe they didn't show him when other players were there talking to him. All I know is, you know, what I saw on the TV, you know, on the broadcast view, which was multiple shots from that fumble to the end of the game when the defense was on the field of him sitting by himself, mumbling to himself, looking dejected, and nobody else there.
I saw him talking to at least one person, but I don't know who it was or what was actually said. But he was definitely pissed at himself completely. And yeah, I haven't seen him lose a ball like that ever. Where he's not going down and he's only apparently holding on to it with one arm and trying to get to the ground.
I want to say he's had at least another one like that this year, if not this year.
This year?
If not this year, last year.
Yeah, it had to be last year. This was his first fumble this year.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway,
Did the Raiders beat the Chargers?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Wow.
Yeah, we lost. Miami lost. Raiders took out the Chargers. There's definitely some strange.
Tennessee lost.
Yeah.
Ravens came back to win.
Yeah, barely.
I was actually rooting for all these guys, all these teams to win, simply because
10-9. Shucks.
I know I probably shouldn't have, but I was rooting for the Chargers. I was rooting for the Jets. I was rooting for the Ravens. I was rooting for the Patriots. I was rooting for who else? Oh, of course, us. Simply because they're
the 50s.
Simply because there was a path. There was a path where all these teams could keep winning and make the playoffs, and the Bengals would be eliminated from playoff contention. Not because I'm afraid of them, but because Bengals fans are so freaking annoying that nothing would make me happier to see the Bengals get eliminated from the playoffs and, just to laugh at them. So.
Did you get in on Locked On Chiefs at all? Because they were freaking ridiculous.
I didn't, no.
There was one guy that wasn't a classless asshole. The rest of them were. One guy out of probably 15 to 20.
When you had, 31 seasons where you didn't, I'm going to butcher all these stats. Where was it at? I'm not even going to try it.
You want to talk, get on camera.
Not unless I can pull up my tweet here, but yeah, you go on and I'll find it and then I'll say it so I don't butcher it.
I was trying to get Gutter to say whatever the hell he's going to say because he won't shut up over here. Little brat. Oh, so we've got some comments to go over.
All right, here we go. I found it. All right, so the Chiefs haven't won in Cincy since I was born. Since the year I was born. In that time, so we're talking 38 years. Last time the Chiefs won in Cincy was 38 years ago. In that time, the Bengals have 10 playoff appearances, 2 AFC championships, 14 consecutive years without a winning record, and 31 years without winning a playoff game. So, of course, they're coming out and celebrating anything and everything. I would think you'd have a little bit more humility knowing all these stats.
And how badly you lost.
But you're going to get a bunch of bandwagon fans, so it is what it is.
And people love being trolls for some reason. I don't try to go be a troll every game we win. I'm not a classless asshole, but I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, there's a lot of things I don't get. I mean, I can't get over our attitude as a team coming into this game and during the game. Like, I don't know.
Well, Burnett Music Foundation asks, do you think McDuffie held his own? And I absolutely do.
Yeah, Frankie put up those stats in the chat earlier. He was on chase 3 and allowed 3 targets, 1 catch allowed on 3 targets, 1 catch allowed for 8 yards. So,
and he is an elite receiver.
To me, that's holding his own, right? So, I absolutely think he did. And again, I don't know if you were with us at the beginning, but I thought for the most part the cornerbacks did a great job in this game. So I agree with that, Oregon.
Exactly.
If anything, I might have went back to a neutral YouTube video like Super Bowl 54. There was a Super Bowl video might have been by Brett Coleman or maybe it was RGR. I don't remember. And there were 49ers fans in there, talking their smack. And I came back after the Super Bowl for sure, but I've never went to another team's live stream, or another team's YouTube channel or, any kind of thing like that and talks. I mean, why do I care? Like, what do you think you get out of it? Like, is your life so sad and pathetic that you have to get pockets of self-esteem by how a football team does? Like,
yeah, I could see somebody being, what's the word for it? Just curious and wondering what's going on.
Sure.
But not saying anything. I could do that. I haven't before, but
right. Or even saying something like we've had, there's been respectful people. Well, even on this channel,
absolutely.
But especially like on RGR, say something respectfully. You can be respectfully curious going into a game, and you can ask questions because you're genuinely curious. Coming into a matchup, and you want to hear from someone who knows their team. So yeah, but coming in to do stuff like that, like two things that like get me. One is that, and one is like writing checks that your mouth can't cash. Like, I don't guarantee wins. There's other Chiefs YouTube channels out there. Chiefs are going to win 45-8 this week. How often does that happen? Like any given Sunday, we talk about the Kels fumble being a fluke, and flukes happen every week. Refs happen every week. Blown calls happen every week. Injuries happen every week. I say it every week, but any given Sunday is not just a cliche. There's a reason why it's a cliche. It's true. We've seen it all throughout this season. So, the margin between the best teams and the worst teams, especially now that Urban Meyer isn't an NFL head coach, save for Lovie Smith and the Texans or a couple other teams out there, the margin between most teams, we'll say that, is pretty small. And it comes down to things like fundamentals, and fluke plays and injuries and things like that. And so why are you going to talk trash on another team before a game? Because anything can happen. So
I did one time. I had a guy, it was a Bills fan, before the 13 seconds game, talking all kinds of crap, commenting to my comments. And I clapped back at him after the game. I said, "What do you have to say now?" That's all I said. And of course, he said nothing. So I left it at that. Didn't say that's what I thought or anything. I do have it in me to be petty. I just typically am not.
Well, Gooch will rub off on you soon enough. It'll happen.
Oh yeah.
With him.
I still think I've surpassed him, but
I can't argue. Can't argue it.
Did we hit this one? I mean, I guess I saw this play differently than everyone else, because to me, I saw like Kels falling to the side, like he was going down.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I thought
like
he'd get.
He was trying to go down.
He gave himself up to me before the fumble, but it is what it is. Like I saw him go. He stopped going forward. He was going sideways to get down. The moment he realized they were going for the ball, and I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But to me, that moment, he had both hands on the ball and he was going sideways to go down to the ground in that moment. But it still pisses me off because there were 3 or 4 Bengals players. There were no Chiefs around. Like he was by himself, just like he was on the bench afterwards. But anyway.
Well, I forgot to mention it last night, but we were bad last night because we had Daryl join us.
Yeah. Speaking of,
So
yeah,
good timing. Bryan,
Daryl,
Aaron, and Daryl.
we're none of us are saying that the ball wasn't out before it hit the ground. It definitely was. It's just a matter of had he given himself up before, and should the whistle have been blown before it got to that point. And I'm not going to make that argument either way, even though, to me, he had the ball in his possession and he was trying to go down and give himself up, and it should have been blown. But whatever. Like you haven't heard me make the argument that was the difference in the game. So there were some stupid flags other flags that made a difference. But anyway.
Yeah, I went to let Sasha out, and that popped in my head last night, and then I completely forgot about it when I got back in. So I wanted to throw that out there.
I hear you, Oregon. I think we would agree on that. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next year. I still think you franchise tag them because you can always rescind it. You can rescind the franchise tag. I think you do it just to see if there's a team. Listen, there was a team out there. There was a team out there who traded their future drafts and then, without even seeing him in their offense, play it down for them, gave Russell Wilson $250 million, and a lot of it guaranteed. So there are suckers out there. That's all I'm saying is franchise tag them and see if you can find one.
I think we're basically 2 tackles away from unstoppable.
On offense?
Yeah.
Man, we got to do something about the defense, though.
Yeah.
They're young.
Well, the defensive line, Gooch. Yeah, I'm not talking.
Oh, you need to take those big boys. I'm tired of seeing Frank and his one spin move.
Gosh.
You put the big boys in the middle. You put Jones on one end and Dunlap and Karlaftis rotate. And you let them go.
How many times did he try that spin move today, and how many times did it work?
I think I saw it work once out of 25, 30.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I thought he really started to turn it on before the suspension. And he even had a good game when he came back from suspension, but he's back to his old tricks. The one trick.
I wonder how Niang is doing. Maybe they stuck him out there for a play just to see how he'd move.
Yeah.
That could be. I don't know why they didn't keep him out there. At least towards the end of the game when Wiley's getting stood up and run right around every play.
So Oregon, talking about the missed field goal, says he would have rather seen the ball in Pat's hands there on 4th down. How do you guys feel about that?
Give it to me again. I missed it.
Yeah.
Oregon Fishing was talking about, said on the missed field goal, he would have rather seen the ball in Pat's hands on the 4th down there instead of kicking the field goal.
That was good going for the field goal.
Yeah, me too.
The play, that 3rd down play, he could have run and picked up that 1st down.
Yeah.
There were multiple times. He didn't.
Multiple times.
He doesn't typically hesitate. I don't get what he was doing.
Looking for Travis, looking for the big play.
Yeah,
McKinnon was in the backfield and squirted out. And even if you don't see Travis, McKinnon was past the 1st down marker.
Go pick that up and then look for Travis the next play.
Give him the ball. From the plays that I've seen, McKinnon looked like that rest or that hamstring helped his burst a little bit. He looked quick. I watched one play and I was like, who the hell is that? And then they were like, McKinnon. I was like, what? Really? He looked fast.
He was pretty
I was
fast.
like, I actually was like, look at Melvin Gordon trying to show some juice. Like,
So, man, I don't even know if I want to say this, but you go ahead and talk. I'll figure out if I want to say it or not.
I'm definitely not saying he couldn't have picked up the 4th and 5. I mean, he definitely could have, and we probably would have, but I have absolutely no problem going for a 55-yarder with Butker. It was barely, and it was a fluky snap that basically cost us. Because yeah, typically he's it's a gimme for him, but it's still a 55-yarder that people shouldn't be freaking out about and calling for his job.
I think it's a good reminder of, we talk about how spoiled the NFL is with Mahomes, all the routine, all the plays that he makes look routine. And I think it's kind of a reminder, right? You see Justin Tucker and you see Butker and, a couple other guys you want to throw in there. And I think it just goes to how routine they've made it look, that you forget that generally on these, 50, 60-yard field goals, right, when the margins get even smaller, how important good snaps, good placement is, and good kick, good kick mechanics, all of that stuff is to actually making one of these. Like, these are not the high percentage, easy level of difficulty kicks that they kind of turn into in our minds as we watch kickers like, Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker make them as often as they do.
And the Bengals kicker.
I'm not talking about him. Screw Bama kickers.
McPherson's a pretty good kicker.
Hey. I'm already upset that TCU is in the playoffs and not my Crimson Tide.
Didn't K-State just beat them, though?
Yes, they did.
How does that work?
And the playoffs are Georgia versus Ohio State, Michigan versus TCU.
How does TCU end up making it in after that?
That's a really good question.
I think it's because they had
and Ohio State got obliterated by
breaking up.
He's muted now.
Why'd you do that, Steve?
Not
that's
me.
Awful.
Not me. My hands are full.
And I wanted to say, I did get a kick out of the quota joke. For some reason, it wasn't letting you hear me. I was laughing my behind off.
Oh, okay. At the beginning there, Aaron, when you didn't have your light on. All right, so I'm probably going to get blasted for this, and that's fine. And I could be way wrong here, but I know you guys are listening to New Heights, as much as I am. The more I've heard Travis talk, the more questions I have about this offense. Like, he makes it sound more and more like there really are basically one or two reads on not every offensive play, on a decent amount of offensive plays. Like, he makes it sound like there's one guy and there's one guy only. This play is designed to get this guy.
Him, though.
No, like, listening to him over the weeks, he keeps talking about different stuff that makes it sound like this is at least a significant chunk of the way the offense is structured, right? And it kind of goes even back to when Sammy Watkins was on the team, right? Sammy was a decoy. McCool coming into this season, he talked about playing his role like he was a decoy, for the most part. For Travis and Tyreek, like, on any given play, there's basically one guy that the play is set to get that player open. And then maybe there's, your running back in the flats or whatever.
I was assuming he was just talking about the first read. Other than when he was quarterbacking that play.
Anyway, but so, yeah, just listening to him, it doesn't seem like it sometimes. And I think that explains why there's a lot of plays as Chiefs fans, we see a player wide open and Pat's not even looking at his direction. And here's the thing about Pat, though. He has the peripheral vision to see the whole field, right? So it's not necessarily that he's not looking at a player's direction, but that also, that's also a reason to suggest he can see that player's open. But if a play's designed that, okay, after 3 seconds, Travis should be open on this, and he's waiting for Travis to be open, and we're like, but Sky Moore's open over here. Well, the play's designed to, break Travis free or whoever it is. So he's waiting for that. It's not that he can't see Sky Moore open over here. How many games, it seems like there's been so many plays every game where we say this player is open. Well, it kind of explains why maybe that's the case, because the play is designed to eventually get this person open and he's waiting. I could be wrong, but if I'm...
Go ahead.
It's all right. I know Gooch is going to bomb me as I finish this, but I could be wrong. But if this is the case, I kind of wonder if Andy doesn't fall in love with his play creation too much. Like, we all have something we're really good at, and we take a lot of pride in it, and we just don't want to give up on things. And I'll give a personal story here. I don't know. Frankie's probably still with us. When we were doing the RGR Discord, and Frankie's been making a lot of awesome changes. I'm going to be honest. When he changed the logo, and I'm not saying it's worse, it's probably way better. That hurt. I didn't want to give up. I created that piece of art that was our RGR logo. I didn't want to give that up. I'm not a great artist, but I didn't want to give that up. Andy's a great, maybe the best play caller of all time. Can he be falling in love with some of his play creations to the point that it can become detrimental with play calling? And again, I can be completely off here, and I'm not saying, Andy, I'm not saying fire Andy. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just, I guess, nitpicking and making some assumptions and whatever. So go ahead. Tell me how stupid I am, Gooch. I'm ready. Put me in front of the fire.
I'm actually not. That's actually a valid point. I would say maybe not play caller, but play designer. But the only thing I was going to come back, because everybody, every single person falls into their habits, falls in love with the thing that they created, and hates to think of it either being caught up to, being a failure, or just not working like it used to. But what I was going to say is, I have watched some other people, and they have broken down some of Andy's concepts, and there's usually three reads, 3 to 4, but it has to develop quickly. And the only reason why was going to combat that is because on Tony's first touchdown, everybody acknowledged he was the 5th read, and Mahomes wasn't looking over there. Tony had to yell for him because Mahomes is going through his progressions, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's not thinking about Tony, who technically is the decoy, being wide open. The other stuff, you could be dead on. And I would never call you stupid for that, because that's human nature. Just like you said, you create it. Sometimes it's hard to let go. Unless it's your children, then you're ready to kick them out at 18.
One's about to be, isn't she?
No, not even close.
She's got 3 years.
She's got 5.5 years. The oldest has five
Oh,
and a half
wow.
years.
She's younger than I thought.
So, but yeah, and you know, there might be a point to where we have to take whatever any of these guys say with a grain of salt, you know, because they're. I think probably most of us saw the quote from Pat talking on some Bengals guy's podcast or doing an interview or something where Pat was joking, and I assume he was joking. If he was serious, we have a whole another 20 minutes rant to go on here. But he was talking. I can't say whether he's joking or not. I think he was talking about how, you know, sometimes they don't even call a play in the huddle. He just tells Travis to get open. I could see it being true. I have a hard time thinking that Andy and Eric would allow that to happen. But if they didn't, you know, if they don't, they would have to know about it after the play. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, I really thought Gooch was going to blast me on my conjecture there, but I'm just piecing together some of, you know, what we've seen in the past from Sammy, what we've, you know, heard from McCole, you know, all the decoy talk and all of this. So only 27 pass attempts.
This is a softer Bryan. As my birthday has come and gone, I am starting to try and relax a little bit.
You went back to the 50s there for a minute and said, what was it he said? Shucks. He said shucks. Mr. Leave It to Beaver.
Watch it. Who said that? I think we did say that. Oh, wait, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sorry. I'm ahead. Probably because I can't really look at my phone very often, so I'm just.
Yeah. Which one of us? I didn't see. Listen, I didn't expect us to go 6-0 this last stretch. I figured 5-1. It just doesn't usually work that way. You know, this team seems to lose at least a game that you expect them to win. This game, I more wanted them to win. Right? I wanted this game to look like Georgia LSU. I'm not even going to lie.
I do think we went out, though.
But, I mean, yeah, it's quite possible. I still think.
No.
I think the Broncos defense is going to be a good test. And let's just say this. Can we all just get this out here right now? All right, we know the Broncos pass defense is going to be a good test. If we lose either of these games and our defense makes the Broncos offense look good, is anybody on board for getting rid of Spags? Because that Broncos offense is horrendous. We know their defense is going to be good. And that's the only way I can see them winning either of these games is by our defense somehow making them look great.
Especially with Pete Carroll giving out the secret to stopping Russell Wilson.
We should feast in both of those games, which means we won't.
Another reason he's a classless asshole and has a punchable face.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Russ has a punchable face and Pete has a punchable face. So if one person is helping out somebody, is helping hurt somebody else with a punchable face, like, does that put you in a dilemma?
Not at all. Hit them both.
Anyway. Oh. But yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, if we can finish 14-3 now. Or if we somehow fall into a path where we can still clinch the number 1 seed and rest against the Raiders in week 18, you know, maybe 13-4. But 13-4, 14-3 is right there, basically where we had this team falling before the season began, with I think 12-5 being kind of our pessimistic take, and 15-2 being our optimistic take, if I recall correctly, something like that for the three of us. Like between 12 and 15 wins, with us more around 13 or 14. So we've scored twice as much as the Broncos. They do have a good pass defense, so they do have that going for them.
Not to mention, Vegas said the Chiefs are only going to win 9 games this year.
Who is that?
Vegas.
Vegas said the Chiefs
Vegas.
are only going to win 9 games this year.
Yeah, and was it the NFL Network guy that had us going 9-8 and being the fourth place in the AFC West?
I forgot all about that. We even went over that and got the video shut down.
They should fire that clown.
Yeah, if I could make possibly 7 figures and be wrong almost every time I open my mouth.
Right. Yeah, I would be fine I would be happy making 5 figures being wrong all the time. I'd be rich. I mean, if I could just get $1 every time I was wrong. These guys get paid what? 50,000, 100,000 for every wrong take, 500,000 for every wrong take. A lot of money. I'd like to have some of it for wrong takes.
Lord knows we've had some.
Oregon says we should practice 4th down conversions with the remaining schedule.
I don't see why not.
Man, red zone and 4th down. I assume we do practice 4th down, a decent amount, because we do seem to be fairly good at it.
But he's saying during a real game.
Yeah.
Instead of just
practice. The remaining schedule, he's saying go for it on every 4th down.
I like that.
Yeah, that's not who it was on NFL Network. I don't know I can't remember who it was, but man, was that guy stupid, and man, was he wrong. It would be funny to go back now and rewatch that whole video to see who he had, because he broke down every division, every schedule.
It also reminds me I've got a video to send you.
Yeah, this one from Frankie. This is for the Cut Harrison Butker crowd.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. That punt, the time we got the Bengals to punt and Justin Watson, very safely fair caught it there. Did it creep into anybody else's mind how terrifying it would have been if Sky Moore had been back there at that moment in the game?
Gosh. Yeah, I would have been terrified.
And Tobe came out this last week and said he's still going to be practicing it in practice, just not in games. Like, let's just move on, bro. Just stop. Use practice better than to even try. Square peg, round hole. Stop trying to force it. Oregon says it seems sometimes like Andy's savant mind freezes up on him during games when the games aren't going well. I mean, I would maintain that I haven't seen Andy, and I've said this since as long as I can remember. I haven't seen Andy be able to make in-game adjustments. I'm not talking about halftime. I'm talking like in-game, in the moment, quarter to quarter, possession to possession. And I haven't even really seen Spags be able to do either of those. But I could be completely wrong. Maybe we just don't see the fruits of it. I don't know how far behind I am here, but I think we went an hour over what we expected to. So, Aaron, if you have some great comments here that you want to pull up to hit really quick, because I'm probably going to have to go really soon here.
I do not, honestly, and I'm getting ready to fall asleep. I actually have to take my mom to get her foot checked out tomorrow. She took a little tumble down the stairs a few weeks ago, and she's not been able to walk on it. So she doesn't want to go to the doctor, so I am making her go. So I probably need to take advantage while I can. If you guys don't mind me taking off.
Yeah.
But there is a good comment here by Oregon.
Funny how these ex-athletes get to cut to the front of the line, and there's a lot of career sportscasters who get screwed. Are we talking about breaking down games, talking about their opinions on stuff? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, cutting to the front of the line and screwing other people out of jobs that actually know what they're talking about and doing.
Right.
And then I appreciate it, Holly. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you, Aaron. I don't know, Gooch, you got anything else to say here, or listen, guys. I didn't read the comments like they do. They let me talk and then they read the comments here. So,
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I think there's plenty that we could have said, but and a lot of great comments here that we probably missed. But as you can hear in the background, I think that's pretty much the timer going off here. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. And Gooch, I'm going to let you pay the bills while you're still here.
Appreciate all you guys for checking in with us. We love doing this. This thing is fun. Obviously, catch us again. We'll be back on here going live. We're going to try and do more stuff for y'all. Keas has got a bunch of stuff in the tank. I'm going to start doing some stuff. And make sure you tell somebody you love them, especially this holiday season.
We'll be back.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs, the king of the